of unmasking the abductors on the Directorate of Criminal Investigations.
On the question of abductions, I just want to say that I think many people misunderstood the president, and I've seen that it's been taken out of context when he said that we have stopped abductions and that people have been returned to their homes. The fact that we are saying as government we have been able to stop abductions, it's the same way I have told you here, we have been able to stop illegal mining in Moyale. It's the same way we have told you we have been able to stop drug trafficking or reduce drug trafficking in this area. It doesn't mean that we were the ones doing it. The same way the president spoke about we have been able to stop actions of abductions is the same way we are saying we have stopped the drug trafficking. Saying we have stopped does not mean we were doing. And I think it's very unfortunate that the president has been, and the way it has always been twisted when he says anything he says, it was his direction. The same way he has directed that we must deal with OLF, we must deal with drugs, we must deal with the illegal mining, is the same way he said we must deal with all elements related to abductions. And when we say so, the IG and the National Police Service is under policy direction of the executive led by the president to make sure that the country is safe. The day-to-day operation will go on, and as you know, the National Police Service is carrying out investigations, the DCI is carrying out investigations. People who have been found to have been involved in the abductions must be arrested and charged in court of law. In some cases, like Nakuru, the case of Brian Odhiambo, and as I promised when I went to Nakuru, the officers who were involved in arresting him or who were seen with him last have already been arrested and charged in a court of law. And any other person who will be found to have been involved in abductions will be charged in a court of law. So the context within which the president spoke about abductions is the same context he speaks about all crimes.
Well, that's quite interesting because the president was very clear that all those abducted have been reunited with their families. So in what context, what meaning was lost in between those words? So that is interesting from the Interior CS. Now let's head over to Senate, where Health Cabinet Secretary Aden Duale has remained firm on the transfer of the staff payroll for workers under the Universal Health Coverage, UHC. In a communique on May 6, 2025, the Ministry of Health directed the payroll of UHC staff to be moved effectively June 1st, 2025. That move was reached after a meeting between the MOH, county governments, and representatives from health unions. As a result, county governments will be provided with additional funds for full absorption of UHC staffs on permanent and pensionable terms before the expiry of their contracts. The changes received opposition from UHC workers on Tuesday, who staged a protest to the MOH headquarters in Afya House.
Told the Sergeant at Arms, that noise you are hearing is from doctors, clinical officers, and other members of the Universal Health Care, UHC. Mr. Speaker, could you resort to standing order number 1? You suspend the sitting for 5 minutes so that we can go and receive the memorandum. Hand over to the minister since he's now here. He has deliberately, Mr. Speaker, refused to talk to those doctors. And that's why they have strategically come when he's here, so that then we can hand over to him and interrogate. If need be, you order him to go and receive that. Both exits are blocked.
Senator.
Mr. Speaker, sir, before, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, in conclusion.
Order, senators, let's listen in silence.
Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, you recall on the 25th of June, that is how the National Assembly continued ignoring. As people pushed, they were continuing to vote. Let us respond to the public, hear them out, so that for the first time, we capture the minister for these members of staff who have found it impossible to get in the
Senate. No.
The people out there were with me. We have signed an agreement with them. And I am not budging back from that agreement. Because when leaders agree with you, an honorable senator, with a light touch, Honorable Cherargei, I will come to answer his question. He's looking at me. It's the last one. But UHC, I've answered you as you are talking to somebody. Honorable Senator. I started with you as I said equalization fund is under the National Treasury. There's a secretariat. It's members of parliament who
Yes, you have under a minute.
Yes, so I have answered that question. So on UHC, the question is budget. Who makes a budget? The budget is made by parliament. I told them, leave my door, come to parliament. Today, this week is a budget making process. You deal with the division of revenue bill, you deal with the county revenue allocation. I'm sure you'll add some money to the counties. Please do me a favor, cut some money, give to UHC. I will pay them.
The CS at the same time cited fraud and double payment as the main reason behind the decision to discontinue the Edu Afya program. Duale, who was appearing before the Senate plenary, explained that the scheme was being misused. He was, however, quick to point out that Edu Afya was not the only scheme discontinued, among several others. Its consolidation, including all other schemes previously managed under the defunct NHIF, he said, was geared at implementing the right to the highest attainable standards for all Kenyans and the right of the child.
Honorable CS, could you tell us why was the Edu Afya medical scheme, which provided comprehensive medical insurance for secondary school learners under the National Health Insurance Fund, discontinued under the current Social Health Insurance Fund program? And secondly, what are the reasons for the government's failure to provide last expense compensation for Mr. Elias Majao Muta, whose son, Master Robin Murimi Majao, a Form 3 student at Kibera Secondary School, passed away on 9th September 2022. Education
engaged the former National Hospital Insurance Fund to provide a comprehensive medical insurance cover for all students in public secondary schools. This scheme was branded Edu Afya, commenced on 1st of May 2018, and was renewable annually for a period of 5 years, lapsing 31st of December. Honorable Speaker, this scheme was rolled out through the National Education Information System, NEMIS. There are several challenges that were found in that system. Fraud, misuse, double payment were made to health institutions arising from a single treatment. And if the senator wants those information, I can provide the names and the institutions. As such, it was found to be unsustainable, and the government resolved to reconsolidate all these special schemes into one, the Social Health Authority benefit package. Therefore, Honorable Speaker and Senators, the consolidation of the Edu Afya scheme with all the schemes that were managed by the defunct NHIF is geared at implementing the right to the highest attainable standards for all Kenyans.
Some 70 billion shillings has to date been disbursed through the Financial Inclusion Fund, the government-run credit facility known as Hustler Fund. Cooperatives and MSMEs Cabinet Secretary Wycliffe Oparanya said on Wednesday. Oparanya told senators during a plenary session at Parliament buildings in Nairobi that the fund has to date reached over 25 million Kenyans, 48% of whom are women. He also on Wednesday said out of the fund's borrowers, 2 million have since been promoted to the bridging band and qualified for bigger loans.
The fund has served over 25 million Kenyans across the country through the digital lending platform using both feature Mulikamwisi and smartphone, to date dispersing about 70 billion, with women accounting for 48% of the total beneficiaries. The Hustler Fund credit model is inclusive, requiring no collateral or credit history, thereby enabling women with limited financial background to access the funding.
I want the Honorable CS, because in his other life he was very clear that we need to hold the President to his promise that this Hustler Fund was supposed to be a grant and not a loan, and that therefore the people who borrowed this money need not pay that money back. That was the position we held together with the CS. I want him to confirm, Honorable Speaker, what plans are there to make sure that the people who are listed as defaulters of this particular hustler fund are made to pay back this money now that he has taken a diametrically opposite position.
I don't remember. I know we were in the same boat that time. But I never heard of this money being a grant. That was the truth. I only was in the same boat when we were saying that this money should not be paid. But now I'm in a different boat. I'm saying that Kenyans who have borrowed this money should pay. So I know there are bad debts. I've admitted myself that there are bad debts, and we're working to see how that can be recovered. But one member said that I paid the 6,000. 6,000 was a promise by Asmio, and as you know, Asmio lost the election. So maybe you organize yourself so that if Asmio comes into power, if they have a chance of coming into power, then they can be able to pay for the 6,000.
A section of members of parliament from Western Kenya has castigated the leasing of Nzoia Sugar Company by the government, saying the tendering process was not above board. The MPs have now threatened to lead demonstrations to reverse the decision, which they say will reverse the gains in the regions. Their sentiments come on the heels of protests reported in Nzoia, where farmers and residents engaged in running battles with police on Monday to protest the leasing agreement.
I was with the President, William Samoei Ruto, Honorable Sifuna, when we were having the economic forum that was to be held in Bungoma. The issue of leasing has come after elections. My friend, we want to stop these political turncoats. We cannot always be telling people this route. Now we are starting to learn some leaders. If they tell you that come and meet me there, if you want to meet them, you go there.
As members of parliament, we don't support it, and we are going to use all mechanism, even if it's mandamano, even if it's using the law, the courts. And we want also to know why is it that we had a court order and the court order was not respected.
This is daylight robbery. There is no other way of putting it. This is daylight robbery. And the issues that have been raised here, number one, there needs to be a transparent process. If you go to Bungoma, the people of Bungoma want Nzoia to be fully functional. They want the machines to work.
Earlier on, there was a law that the sugar bill that passed in Parliament. It was said that only mills will be allowed to import sugar. Now, the mills have been given to some people who are known to be not very good characters to run. So when now, some of these mills might not even crush sugar. They might just have tokenism, but the main business will be to dump Brazilian sugar in the economy, which has been the reason why sugar in Western Kenya has never taken off.
Difficult for me to accept that in the entire world, there are only 2 or 3 families that can run sugar mills in Kenya. If you put out an international tender, and only 2 families from Kenya are the ones that are responding to that tender, there's a problem. The people who run sugar mills in Brazil, have they heard that Nzoia was looking for a strategic investor? How is it possible that we do an international tender and the respondents are not international people? They are just Kenyans here, running around from Webuye.
Workers of the Chemelil Sugar Factory in Kisumu County have downed their tools, demanding full payment of their salary arrears before the mill is taken over by the Kibos Sugar Millers under a 30-year leasing agreement. James Agumba, the Assistant Secretary of the Kenya Union Sugar Plantation and Allied Workers, staged a demonstration at the facility. They insist that the MOU between the Sugar Workers Union must be fully honored before proceeding with the factory's leasing process. They raised concerns that the leasing is progressing despite unresolved issues in the MOU, including the payment of salary arrears, job security, and compensation of retirees.
Compelling the government that we want our salaries for April immediately, before we transit into the next dispensation of leasing. Today. Yes. Another thing we are saying, that it was entrenched in that memorandum of understanding that there was going to be recognition to the union Yesterday was what was meted by employees inside here. The first day that the lease started this work, there was a compelling demand from employees that they could not continue with such element of intimidation because the new leasee has intimidated employees to the extent that he's complaining that there are too much staff at the factory. So from where we stand, we are telling the government that we are ready to go home. But the first demand that we are saying, we want our money, salary arrears must be paid to a zero balance. Before we transit to the next dispensation.
You saw what happened in Pan Paper. You saw what happened in KCC. You saw what happened in the Kenya Railways. You saw what happened in Muwani next to us here. We don't want that to happen to us when we are still alive in Kenya. And we are saying, plus our parents and our children and everybody in this community, we are not going to accept anybody to take our sweat without paying us.
At least 132 senior police officers will be promoted to high ranks after successful interviews by the National Police Service Commission. The interviews, which began on Tuesday and will end on Thursday this week, will see the promotion of officers from the rank of Chief Inspector to Assistant Superintendent of Police. The Police Service Commission CEO Peter Lele said the senior officers who are currently interviewed have undergone promotional courses in Kiganjo and Emali police colleges. The commission also said as part of taming bribery and corruption cases during recruitment, they will bank on the technology where interested candidates will share their credentials through digitized platforms.
We've had a robust program for the senior officers who are aspiring to progress into higher ranks from Chief Inspector to ASP and above. And they've undergone a lot of trainings, both at Kikanjo and Emali. And I want also to start by saying the command led by the Inspector General has done a good job. And we are confirming through these interviews that a lot of work has gone into the programs of equipping our police officers to perform better.
All right, at that point, allow us to take a quick breather right here on EBN Prime Edition. We'll be back shortly with more news making headlines. It holds the key to the country's progress. The DP say that with millions of Kenyans engaged in small-scale farming of various crops, the sector's impact on the economy is huge. Kindiki received progress reports on the streamlining of various agricultural chains at his official residence in Karen, saying the value chains also hold the key to moving towards industrialization and manufacturing.
The interventions we've made in the past 2 years have yielded some positive indicators. You've seen coffee is beginning to pick up. We have tried to say that this coffee thing is actually gold for Kenya. It's part of the agricultural real sector factors. If you want to know how important coffee is, look at the value. The world trade value for coffee is only second to oil. Yes. So after oil, it is coffee in terms of value. We are a coffee growing country. The potential is good. We grow quality coffee, very competitive. But because of policy and other prioritization issues, we've started doing well, but I want to challenge you. We are not doing well enough.
First Lady Rachel Ruto called on Kenyans to adopt sustainable, innovative farming methods in their home gardens to produce sufficient, nutritious food. She made the remarks when she launched the national rollout of the Mama Kitchen Garden program at the Koibatek Agricultural Training Center in Eldama Ravine constituency, Nakuru County. She said the project aims to boost national food and nutrition security the first pillar of the bottom-up transformation agenda. Present were Environment Cabinet Secretary Dr. Deborah Baraza, Baringo Deputy Governor Felix Kipngok, Principal Secretaries, Members of Parliament, exhibitors and program partners. Over the past 8 months, the project model has been tested, piloted in selected schools, including St. George's Primary, Nairobi Primary, and all primary schools in the capital city.
This school is in a community that is really in need. Hata ukiona hawa wanafunzi, majority of them have taken nothing. It is only in this year that it has rained. Other years, it is ever dry. So sisi ninawaombea two lunch programs.
I want to thank Mama wetu, Mama wa Taifa, Mama Rachel Ruto, kwa ile kazi unafanya na watoto wetu, and especially these young children in school. From vile tumeona the Mama Food Kitchen, tumeona very good vegetables.
Na kwamba ile mboga ambayo tulipanda miezi miwili iliyopita tumeweza kuvuna na watoto sasa wanakula hiyo mboga. Mumekula hiyo mboga watoto? Mumekula? Mumechuna? Ni tamu? Wote tuweze kufanya hivyo. Hii ni mfano tu. Tunafanya hivi katika shule. Mnanisikia watoto? Tunafanya hivi shuleni ili na nyinyi pia kule nyumbani mpeleke na mwanze kufanya hizi kitchen gardens, kupanda mboga. Nimesikia kwamba wazazi wengi wanafanya hivyo. Lakini hata nyinyi watoto muweze kuomba wazazi wenu wawapatie tu sehemu kidogo kwa hiyo kitchen garden. Panda sukuma 2, panda spinach 2, panda maharagwe 10, panda mahindi 20, na mwisho mtaona kwamba pia nyinyi mmeweza kupata mavuno.
All right, let's get sporty. Kenyan striker Janet Mora Bundi has etched her name in the books of Africans women football this year with a remarkable season in the Egyptian Women's League, representing the National Bank of Egypt under coach Mohamed Kamal. Bundi had already netted an impressive 27 goals, securing her position as the league's second top scorer and propelling her team to a commendable 5th place. Her move to the National Bank of Egypt marked a significant milestone, making her one of the few Kenyan stars to play professionally in Egypt.
Gem and hard work in my team, and talk small player, my team small player, talking all the time. You must playing, fight, it's very well. This very good experience, Janet. Now I hope another player in Kenya in my team. This shape you can play in France.
First naweza sema nashukuru God, nimekuwa Egypt for 8 months now. Ligi imekuwa poa, performance yangu imekuwa juu, imekuwa 70%. Ukiona ni naka second top scorer amenishinda na 1 goal. Naweza sema ligi imekuwa.
That's truly a brilliant form. 27 goals this season alone, more than some of the, goals scored by top players, even in the English Premier League, as well as even locally FKF Premier League. So we wish Mora all the best as she continues her form in Egypt. And that wraps our broadcast tonight. Thank you for watching. Our sign language interpreter tonight is Laura Omondi. My name is Cynthia Nanjala. We wish you a wonderful night ahead. See you tomorrow, same time, same place. God bless.